Hi, welcome to my channel.
Hey, Uncle Kenny! Football! Hey, yeah!
If you're new here, my name is Cedric. I'm an actor, a filmmaker, a screenwriter, and a YouTube reactor. And if you're not new here and you're wondering what room I'm in, because this doesn't look like my office, you're correct. I am currently in Lynchburg, Virginia, doing the musical Anastasia until September 22nd. And if you're anywhere near Lynchburg, you should come see this show. It's very, very good. I'm with the Alluvion Stage Company. I'm very proud of this. Everyone has been wonderful. I'm playing Gleb, if you're familiar with the show. It's a really beautiful role. It's the movie from my childhood I just love. And I'm really proud to be a part of it. And if you're confused, yes, I just did Anastasia in New Jersey as well. I'm now in Virginia playing the same role at a different company. And I'm really proud of it. So if you're anywhere near Lynchburg or you're looking for like a fun little trip to take over the next 2 weeks, we just had our opening weekend. Audiences are loving this show, and I'm really proud of it. So if you can come see it, cool. But if you're not new here, you're probably familiar with all that, which means you're also familiar, of course, with The Coroner's Assistant, which I would love it if you went and watched that show that I'm in that got nominated for 2 ASTRA Awards and 11 Indie Series Awards. And of course, it probably wouldn't hurt if you checked out Kadia: The World Within, my first feature film as a writer-director. I wouldn't be hurt if you did that, you know? I'm not hurt if you watch any of my stuff, please. It means a lot to me. That's why I make it. But for now, the things that we're gonna watch are Jimin. This is Jimin Who? Jimin. I have to say there's a mall nearby the hotel, and there's a movie theater there, and you know me, I like movies. So I've been going there, and there's a TJ Maxx, and I found 4 of the 7 BTS Funko Pops there. And I don't have room in my luggage to bring them back, and it absolutely crushed me. 4 of the 7. They had Jimin, Jin, I want to say it was Suga, and maybe V, maybe? I can't remember. But they have 4 of them, and I was like, well, first, it's not all 7, so that would feel incomplete. Second, I didn't have room in my luggage, and it crushed me, because I really, I was tempted to get them. Anyway, let's dive in. This is Jimin Who. I don't know what to expect other than that it's Jimin, so I'm guessing there's going to be some really fun vocals that happen here, but don't know what kind of sound it's going to be, don't know what the visuals are going to be like, don't know if it's going to be a ballad or a pop song. So let's find out. Here is Jimin's Who.
She's all I see at night. Never met, but she's always on my mind. Wanna give her the world and so much more. Who is my heart waiting for? If every day I think about her, yeah, every day of my life.
Nice.
Then tell me why I haven't found her.
Interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is this a set or is this a street that they shut down? I'm guessing it's a street. I'm sorry, I meant to say a set. There's a nice blend of real world items. Like I think this car that rolls through, obviously the TV is there. Yeah, so that seems real to me. Because of the way the headlights, yeah, that's definitely real. The fire isn't. The fire is added in post, and you can kind of see the marks of it. If you actually look, something that's really interesting is you can see underneath the car that they clearly have a softbox light over top, which is casting down that blue and white color throughout. But the fun thing about that one, that is the color temperature of street lights, so it does make sense within the world. But 2, this big blue neon sign here that says Bliss motivates that top-down white-blue light as well. So that's really, really nice. I'm sure that there's a bunch of stuff in the background here that's references. I know there's a billboard up top I saw that said Closer up here. Over here, like the original pizza, something records, Ryan Vintage Clothing. All feels like things that are, you know, very common with BTS, where you're getting kind of vintage clothing. There's throwbacks. This sound too. The song itself has a little bit of that retro feel. Again, it's something Jimin tends to use auto-tune, not because he needs it, but as a stylistic flair. And that way he reminds me a lot of T-Pain, I think it is, who's a really, really good singer and then uses it stylistically. So I think that's a fun choice here, and it's a good vocal line to open the song. So yeah, it's a very interesting opening. I love the wide sweeping camera movements. I love how quick some of the pans are as well. It's a very active camera within the space and some very smooth choreography. So I do want to go back to where the choreography kind of kicks in and kind of take a look at what he's doing. I probably can't do my usual like really bad imitation of the choreography because I'm in a hotel room, but we'll see what we can talk about here.
Who is my heart waiting for? If every day I think about her, yeah, every day of my life.
That's nice. That's smooth.
Then tell me why I haven't found her. Why? There's so many people to see.
Nice.
Places to go. We still haven't found love. We never met, but she's
Oh, yeah, look at the foot movement here. I'm interested in the use of fire throughout so far. We've got the TV, the car, and the shopping cart. Two of those three things used for movement and for transportation of both, like, mainly goods, I think, for shopping cart, unless you're a little kid. But it's interesting. I wonder what that's going with. There was also, I noticed a bird that was flying out of the left side of the frame. I wonder if that's a reference to something, or if those pieces are going to be folded in, or if it's just something that I'm missing because I'm tired and not as smart as him. These are all very possible. Going to this kind of back-loading bay, I think is interesting that when he's dancing with the women, it is in this public space in the street, right? There's cars going right by them, versus now that he's with the guys, he's in this kind of back area. It's not as public. And I think there's something about where, like, guys, I think society to a degree, like, expects, like, oh, if you're a man, you got to be doing this. And so I'm just interested in, like, what that means. Like, why is it women that he's dancing with here, and then
places to go. We still haven't found love. We never met, but she's all I see at night.
so what I'm getting out of this is, you know, this idea of, because I wanted to revisit what that lyric was. We never met, but she's all I see at night. We've got these guys, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 guys there, but it's not, you know, the BTS guys. Is this the idea of, like, having to compete for her, or, you know, she's all I see at night? So in my dreams, I'm wondering, is she with someone else? Notice that these are construction workers behind him too. So this very kind of traditionally masculine role. And so that's, you know, the car hood is up. Like, there's a competition for this kind of, you know, winning her, being a man to a degree. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, again, I'm spitballing here, but I'm interested in that. I'm coming back to this later on because I don't feel like I explained this very well. I'm interested here in what he's doing on performative masculinity around the other guys versus the intimacy of when he's with just one other dancer, with just one other woman, and then the others come in and there's more space that's created in the choreography. I'll talk about this later on in the video because I'm recording this a few minutes after I talked about all that. But I'm interested in that kind of performative feeling. Who he is, you know, who am I looking for? Who am I with, you know, these individual people? How am I changing per person that I'm with, per space that I'm in? And the people that are around me, like, who am I presenting myself as? And I think that that's a really fascinating dynamic that seems to be played within that. And also, as you'll see, and I'm assuming you've seen the video before, how the aspect ratio is changing, how it's feeling at times like it's more of a film camera that's being emulated versus the more modern style with everything, you know, where there's bursts of neon and the different colors that are in the background that kind of inform character, colors that we would associate traditionally with masculinity or femininity. Check for those things in the background because they're present throughout this in some really fascinating ways. And I don't think that's the only way to interpret this, but I do think that's a really interesting element that's being pulled into this that I really, really like. There's this yearning for relationship and meaning on an individual level. So he's got people that are around him, but, you know, I want to be someone she can count on. I want to be there for her. Like, I want to be the person that I want to be and that she needs. And it's very interesting because how do you become that? You know, are you already that? Should you already be that? Like, should you change for those things? It's an interesting conversation. So nice. Oh, cool. Yeah, so that's emulating film there, but they've closed down the aspect ratio to closer to a 4:3, and then that's the analog that we've seen in the TV as well. So now we're getting that static flicker that we've gotten on the TV. So also the music's really good. The choreography here, which is actually initially why I paused anyway, very, very smooth. Huge fan. So let's check that out again. I'm gonna blame my not trying to do it on the hotel room when it's actually that I am not good enough to do it. Ka-chow. Again, touching on that idea of doing it in the street too, like doing this dance now on a screen that's being filmed kind of makes it a performance as well, right? There's a public aspect to that, a public facing aspect to that is really, really intriguing. I do want to, no, I don't have room. I was going to highlight the choreography here, but notice as they do it, it's a lot of quick movements, you know, this quick flick of the ankle that are small followed by a bigger movement. And so there's this boom, and it's very rhythmic, right? Boom, boom. Too quick, one longer. And that's very satisfying to see, matches the music very, very well, helps them be together, and it just keeps your eye drawn. But especially because they're also moving in their upper body, you almost don't notice how, and again, this is not a criticism, don't take it as a criticism, how simple that movement is, because the simplicity is what makes it great. Dance ultimately is combining several mostly simple movements into one complicated movement, right? And so that's what we're seeing here is a series of simple movements, but compiled in such a way that it becomes complicated, and more important than complicated, when it's well executed, like here, incredibly entertaining. So good on him.
It's my heart waiting for. I'll take the places that you found, yeah. I'll put it all on the line. I'll be there so much she can count on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so many people to see. Places to go.
That was cool. What was that slide? Hang on. Oh, I didn't even notice the aspect ratio change. Interesting. So as they're going then to in front of a movie theater, it changes back to more of a widescreen feel. That's interesting. That slide into the choreo, my brain processed it. You were probably like, he missed it. No, that's dope. And I want to see how he did that, because if it's on asphalt, I mean, if that's what it looks like, it's hard to pull off. But there's also this cool move where he's got she's kind of in his shoulder and he's wrapped around her and they do something. I didn't quite see what it was, but it was very cool movement. So again, the choreography is going from intimate when it's with individuals, right? So like the first 2 girls that he danced with in the street, they weren't girls, they're women, call them women. First 2 women that he danced with in the street. And then when he's with multiple of them, there's a bit more space. And then when he's with all the guys, there's a bit more space. And now that he's with her, it's intimate again. And so there's an interesting, use of space and dynamic spatial reasoning within that to kind of seemingly inform character and this feeling of who I am in private versus who I am in public, who I am with you versus who I am around these people.
She can count on. 1, 2, 3,
See, now again, he's recalibrating himself. Yeah, the hands, that's really cool. Okay. Yeah, that slide wasn't as big as I thought it was. It was just a quick slide of the feet, but it looked really cool. And part of the reason it looked bigger is all the guys are coming in from the other side as he does it. So that movement looks bigger. Just watch that again. I promise we're not going to pause and talk that whole time. Just watch that move again. See what I mean? Nice. That was cool. Nice. Let's talk for just a sec. One, I really love that almost Stardew Valley type that's happening in the music. I just think that's a really nice touch. But also, as we're flipping between this more retro camera style and a more modern camera style, that does pull that bit of like retro feel into this piece that I think is really, really cool. It's interesting that this has auto calibrating when he's at the movie theater. Like it's constantly recalibrating who I am. And when they're both in the space, there is this very kind of presentational confidence and smoothness with it. But if you notice, kind of look at his face throughout a lot of this, there is this like longing even in the community that's really interesting. And it's all put together and smooth, and then we come out and the car is on fire and something crashes down. And there's this feeling of like being in a group, and then when you're by yourself, like, oh, was that right? You know, did I make mistakes? Like, I don't know. It just, you know, it says keep going. Is this kind of also about like social anxiety for like rethinking your actions, or I don't know. I think there's some interesting elements that are pulled in here that are worth examining and considering, and that's the beauty of art. Like, it's got me thinking. I feel like there are 3 different things that it could be saying, and I'm just going to keep coming up with hypotheses, and we'll see how right I am. But I love all of those elements because I think that those are relatable. I think that they're interesting conversations to continue to have. Nice, just stopping with everyone as they pass. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think those were practical. I mean, the tornado's not practical, I can say that. But I think the other explosions around it were. And I think this idea of like your life being twisted around, you know, this, you develop a crush, you develop infatuation, and everything circles around that person and kind of gets tossed around and thrown up in the air. And like, that's part of your identity too. Like, your identity gets kind of caught up in that. It's interesting to me that I kind of expected in that for the bliss to be torn off the wall, and I don't think it was. But it's also interesting, he talks about like, oh, even at night she's on my mind, and like all the street lights are going out, they're all exploding around him. That's an interesting element here. Huh. It's also interesting that he did the dance, walked down the street, and then turned around and just started walking back to where he came. There's this feeling of kind of pacing with this, back and forth, thinking and overthinking, and, you know, the cycle of like, you're on my mind, like I can't stop thinking about it. And that's visually represented really, really well here. I also just love the performance on this kind of quieter moment during this bridge. Really cool physical performance. The vocals, obviously it's Jimin, like the vocals are great. What do you really want me to talk about? Like it's good and interesting pop music. Hey guys, I actually want to just acknowledge real quick that I liked this song while I was doing the analysis of it. I liked it. Now that I'm listening to it again, I'm catching more of the really clever elements to it. It uses kind of a classical chord structure and classical kind of lifts and falls to the actual vocal and the melody. I think it's really intelligently produced and orchestrated, and certainly, as I go on to say here, intelligently performed by Jimin. So I'm actually liking the song more the more I hear it, the more sharp I think it is, the more astute I think it is, the more intelligent I think it is. And it's really a bop. As I mentioned in a note earlier, it's been stuck in my head all day. So I just wanted to acknowledge that real quick. I'm enjoying the song more every time I hear it, and I enjoyed it here. But I'm not sure that it quite captures actually, like what I said doesn't fully capture how good I think the song is. So I just wanted to quickly affirm that I like the song a lot. Okay, back to the video. But he still has such a sharp vocal technique and such a beautiful voice, and just knows how to use it. And it's great. It's a nice pointed attack, very clean, very crisp. This song does take a good amount of breath control, because there's a lot of kind of movement up through it and a lot of kind of trickle downs, especially with his diction as he goes. There's some really good breath control. Just listen for that, and how, like, when he's breathing, how he has to use his breath to shape each phrase.
She's always on my mind. Wanna give her the world and so much more. Who is
Sounded good. Nice. Nice. Oh, when did it go to widescreen like that? Sneaky. There it is.
heart beating for.
Clever to use that pan around the camera. Green light. There it is. Green light behind him. Or in front of him now. Yeah, I definitely think that's, having seen it now, it's definitely a set. Oh, that was great. Yeah, it felt like a very, like, mid to late 90s to early thousands kind of R&B or pop song, which I really like. You know, I was born in the mid 90s, so it kind of took me back to some of those songs from when I was a kid, which I really, really liked. I also think that I've been thinking more about when he's at the loading docks and the construction workers are around them and he's dancing with the 7 guys. And of course the 7 guys show up at the cinema as well. I wondered too, like I talked a bit about like how do we change, right, depending on our context and who's around us and how do we present ourselves. And I do think that that's an interesting element that this video is trying to address, but I also think obviously he's singing about trying to find love and like she's all I'm waiting on, but he's also singing about like where are you, and I think the idea of him being with 6 other guys, like with BTS, like waiting to rejoin the guys, and who am I when I'm not with you, and I'm thinking about rejoining you too. And I think I don't want to necessarily just take every BTS solo song and be like, oh, it's about ARMY. But like, I do think could be an argument that like, it's also about his art, she being the muse. Like, I'm still waiting to go back to her, to make my art, to ARMY, to touring, to the muse, to the art. Like, that is who he's singing about being in love with. I think that that's also a really interesting interpretation of this, because he's in his service right now and released this during that. And so there's kind of this sense of longing that even as we're experiencing the song for the first time, he's, you know, doing what he's got to do. And so I think that that's a really interesting element to this that I hadn't thought about while watching it. But like Slow Dance Records, V has a song called Slow Dance. And then, you know, thinking about like the movie theater and, you know, that always has like coming soon attractions coming soon, like that they are coming back soon, and that is an element of this whole thing. And it's interesting that he approaches bliss and then leaves bliss and then goes back to bliss and then walks away from bliss again and then ends by walking toward bliss when he gets the green light. That bliss is this kind of incapturable thing, but he's walking toward and away from the neon and the lights. And, you know, I think with that back loading bay and the idea of the 6 other guys being there too, like there's a sense of being backstage, behind the scenes. I mean, I talked before about it being public versus private in those moments, but also public versus private in those 2 sets. Every other set is public. And he has this moment, actually, that's quite interesting, when he's with the guys, and then he comes back out and he does some more solo stuff, and then he's with the guys again. And then it's public because there's people there and they're watching. They've gone on the hiatus. This is his private moment, and then they'll rejoin and be public again. But then he kind of keeps flipping between this. There will be the public. There is the private. There will be the group. There is the me, right? I don't know. I think that that's really compelling. I don't know if that's really what it's about, but it's what my brain is saying it is. So that's where I'm going to land for now. I'm super interested in your thoughts. I don't know if I'm close at all to where you guys think it's coming from, but that's where my brain is going with it. Hear me out. Okay, and just because there were 2 new songs and I was pretty excited about both of them, I thought we could check out Jimin Smeraldo Garden Marching Band featuring Loco. I have no idea what to expect with that. That feels like a Mad Libs title. But if I'm not mistaken, now that I've read it out loud, is not the Smeraldo the flower from the Bangtan universe? Yes. Interesting. I don't know what that means in context. You want to find out? This may not tell us. I don't know what to expect from this. I feel like this is going to be chaotic. I feel like it's going to be different based on the what are those called? Thumbnails. The thumbnail. Based on the thumbnail. So you're getting 2 for 1. Here we go. This is Jimin Smeraldo Garden Marching Band featuring Loco. Official track record. Official track video. Track is the record. Come on, Cedric. Come on. Come on. Okay. Okay. Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's show.
Right. Okay, let's talk about those first 30 seconds, shall we? From a filmmaking standpoint, set the tone. Opening frame looks like a Bob Ross painting. This could not be more different than what we just watched, right? This big, open, almost looks like Sweden to me. I've never been to Sweden. Austria. Thinking of The Sound of Music. It looks like The Sound of Music. When we first see Jimin, I say this as a huge compliment. It reminds me of Teletubbies. And when I said in Who, that being a nostalgia kick, there's something about this that kind of tickles the nostalgia part of my brain. It feels like Teletubbies mixed with Willy Wonka almost. The come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Like the chocolate room or the candy room where everything is edible. It has that feeling, and it's interesting too when they're introducing Loco there that they're playing with perspectives, and Jimin almost looks larger than life until all of a sudden he isn't. There's some fun little mental games that I think they're playing, and so far this reminds me a lot of RM's Lost video, where it's kind of it knocks you off base at the very beginning to kind of let you embrace the weirdness of what's coming, because this feels like something weird is coming. And I think that that's great. I love it when videos do that. Like, set the tone early and don't bump the table that your camera's sitting on and make everyone's world shake like I just did. Okay, here we go. Good camera move.
Say, oh, 여러분을 위한 하모니. I say love. 자, 이제 소개할게. 시작된 건 6월 12일. 행복의 선물함에. Say, oh, let's talk about us. 전하지 못한 말, 숨겨왔던 너의 말. 줄 거야. Just for you. 저는 고민하지 마. 우리가 함께니까 솔직해져 봐. Let's go. I love you, babe. 다가갈게 너에게.
I love. We're gonna go back. I love the vintage level of this. I love that the camera looks like film. I think this is being shot on film. I love the set. I adore the set. It feels like it's stepping back to that like Dark Crystal kind of feel. Like I mentioned Willy Wonka too. This kind of practical, not supernatural. I mean, it's not supernatural, not super natural. The Wizard of Oz. That's another really good comp for it, where it's just a little bit fantasy, a little bit presentational. Another thing it reminds me of is, you want to talk nostalgia, the Barnie and the like magic egg or something from when I was a kid. Like there's an egg and like a koala's born out of it.
Come on, let's get on the horse and go.
Well, we can't all ride on Agnes. I think I have an idea.
Oh, great! What is it?
Here
you go, little fella.
It reminds me of that, and I mean that as a huge compliment because I loved that movie as a kid, even though I don't remember what it's called, and I really only remember the egg koala bit. No, I think this is great, and having the kids around him, what a shot of them playing, I know what that's called, rock, paper, scissors, and then they walk over to him, and they all still get to do it anyway. There's this feeling of him bringing joy. Everyone is included. There's this, it almost feels like a response to Who, right? Where Who's like, what am I looking for? And now it's like, ooh, no, I love you. Like, let's have fun. Let's have joy. Let's bring each other joy. And he's dressed in a suit where everyone else is in bright colors and kind of soft tones and palettes. And even his vocals pop compared to what we're seeing. And so there's this feeling of him kind of being the ringmaster of it, the Willy Wonka of this world, where he has something he can gift everyone. He has something he can gift us with, which is his joy, his love. And that's great. And it feels like that's what we're seeing. It almost sounds like he's singing live. I don't think that he is, but he might be, but it is cool. Like he sounds great on it, but it's very kind of raw in production, and I love that. It's a really cool choice because, again, when you look around here, there's a sort of minimalist overdressing of this set where, like I said, that kind of fantasy, old school fantasy set dressing forces you to suspend your disbelief and just enjoy the beauty of it. That's kind of the vocal here too, where it's not too clean. It's just kind of his voice, and he sounds awesome. So the last one where it started with autotune, this one just sounds like him being perfectly on pitch and going for it. And I wouldn't be shocked if this is live. I love those rolling Dutch angles. Oh, yes. Sorry, I wanted to mention that closing down of the ratios into the circle. Such a cool way to add a little bit of pop to it. It's I know in the last video in Who, they changed aspect ratios a lot, but bringing it back down to that circle, this whole thing feels very playful, very joyful, and I love that.
전하지 못한 말 숨겨왔던 너의 마음 다 전해줄 거야 Just for you 더는 고민하지 마 우리가 함께니까 솔직해져 봐 Let's go I love you babe 다가갈게 너에게 I love you babe Yes sir you, babe. I wanna hold your hand. I want you, babe. Yeah, let's go. 근데로 fade away. 매일이 새롭게 이름 부를 테니 너는 편하기만 해. 우리가 맞춰 잼해. 느낀 대로 계속해. 바로 앞에서 말 못해도 널 위해서 made a bed.
When Loco comes in too, again, it sounds live. I don't know. It sounds like it. It could easily be. I mean, they could be on a stage here. I love the backdrop with the clouds. I love the giant butterfly. I love the choreography here. When we're talking about things being a little bit, like some of the flowers are a little bit too big, all these are kind of big, slow movements, right? And I love that because it kind of, there's something just very sweet and endearing about that choreography. And as the song's going, ooh, I love you, babe. Like it's very kind of bouncy and light and fun, and I really, really love that. I love the choreography in this section. I love that Jimin has kept a jacket on both shoulders in both of these videos so far. I admire him for doing that. I know that's something he's struggled with. I would not be shocked if that jacket comes off. We shall see. But again, that closing down into the circle, throwing the camera over to Loco, I think that's so sweet. It's such a great injection of energy into the screen, and this is bouncy. I really liked Who. That song's gonna be stuck in my head. This one's an earworm. This is gonna be a problem. Like, I know for the next few days I'm gonna be going, ooh, I love you, babe. Like, I know it. I already am. It's already in my head. I've heard it once. It is in my head. Thanks, Jimin. This is gonna be torture. But good torture, because I like it. Okay, here we go.
I love you, babe.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I want you, babe. I wanna hold your hand. I want you, babe.
Sorry, very quick. One other thing that's really, really nice about this is the simplicity of the orchestration, where it's just like it's largely just percussion and then a couple extra voices. There have been some other instruments, but I really like how kind of scaled back that is, where it just lets us focus on his voice and the joy of what we're watching. I think it's great.
Yeah, let's go. 근데로 fade away. 매일이 새롭게 이름 부를 테니
I do. Sorry, I'm going to pull back the curtain on the wizard here. I think there's a cut if you watch this slowly.
I wanna hold your hand.
When he whip pans over.
I want you, babe. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, definitely. That's okay. It looked good. I'm sorry, I keep pausing. I know, I'm sorry, but also you're watching my video to hear my thoughts, so that's why we're pausing. Yeah, the cut in the whip pan just makes sense. That whip pan is really hard to land, and it looks great. In fact, I can't even be fully sure, it just looks like it. But when he says blossom, and it opens up and shows us the whole world, how great is that? How great is that? Just visually, it helps it pop. And he's got flowers all around him, and he is also in this black suit, but there's so much life around him. This is great. This is lovely, and I think there's some people that would be like, that's too on the nose. And to them I say, no, it's great. It's lovely. There's a purity to it, and I love it. Nice.
Just for you. 빨라지는 속도. 내 몸 멈춰. 날짜도 없이 하루 종일 머리 위에 네가 떠 있어. 혹시라도 손대면 난 척 하고 터져버릴 듯이 cause of love. 눈부신 하늘과
Cool. Nice.
흔들리는 꽃들도 함께 할 거야. So tell me how you feel. 그저 느낀 그대로 너를 맡겨봐. Let's go. I love you, babe. 다가갈게 너에게. I love you, babe.
Yes, sir.
I love the yes sir. That's entering my vocabulary. Like from now on, I have this thing that my Uncle Stan would go like, yes or nope. And now somebody's gonna be like, would you like fries with that? And I'm gonna go, yes sir. I love the flow into sunset here, into golden hour, where they've injected a lot of gold and a bit of orange into the frame too. And that orange is really what I think sells it. Because again, talking about that, like things not quite being realistic, the gold would be lovely, but it's the orange that really kind of pops this and adds that warmth to it. So I think that's a really, really nice touch, and all the blossoms that are on the ground. We're getting more instruments in the mix as well, so we can hear more of what's, there's just a bit more sound with it. Now we know it's not live vocal because he's put the mic down when he's dancing. Maybe he did that in the first chorus and I just didn't notice. It doesn't mean it wasn't earlier. It could be a blend of both. The point is that his voice really feels very unfiltered in this, and very kind of honest with this joy and with this love of it. And I think that's great. I love the costumes too for everybody. It kind of ranges from this like somewhat fantastic to kind of the ordinary, but everybody's in kind of these evocative poppy colors, and it really, really works. Loco and Jimin seem like they have a lot of chemistry as well, which I really think adds a lot to it. It looks like they're having fun together. Popping up to the bubbles, having the bubbles pop. Like, it feels like they're in this joyful space with this. I'm loving everything about this. I'm obsessed. Dutch angle.
I want you, babe. I wanna hold your hand. I want you, babe.
Nice. Take it to the bridge. Fireflies. Nice.
모두가 제자리에 turn up the music. 준비된 것 같아.
Just interesting to note, these fireflies are not practical lights. Those are added in post. You can see he steps into a light, but think about how narrow that light has to be, how closed down it is, because everybody else is coming into the frame with him, and they are not in the light, and yet he is fully lit. You can see they've clearly got a softbox up top that's filling it with light, but it's not really on the ground, and when they come in, they're not hit by it. So how narrow is that? How specific is his blocking? Just look at how focused that light is on him and not the people around him. There's one guy to the left of the frame who seems like he's a little bit in it, but even that, it's much dimmer. So that's very interesting.
Turn up the music. 준비된 것 같아.
See, they're all pretty far away. You see him there. And now it all comes in. Yep. I loved. I don't know what else to say about it. I thought it was delightful. Well, you know what's cool too is like, that's the thing with, I mean, with all these guys, but with Jimin, like, two such different songs, but still so identifiably him in that, and making great use of his singular sound, and that sound that is so vintage Jimin, and such a cool tone that only he can bring to it. And you know, it's charming. Like, that one was so charming and so, I don't know, effervescent. I don't know. It was quite literally bubbly. It felt like childlike wonder with it, which I love, which I value very highly. So I thought it was great. I thought both these were great. Thank you for sticking it out. I know this is a long video. I appreciate you still being here and still watching. I really liked both. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much. I know we're crashing back into this channel after like a month or more of not doing it because had Anastasia and then shot a movie and now I'm doing Anastasia again. But I wanted to get back out here and enjoy some stuff with you, and I knew you'd release new music. So I'm glad to have seen it. Thank you so much for watching. Sending you all love. Please drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, fix your postures, be kind to yourselves, and keep listening to what you enjoy. Don't let anyone else yuck your yum. All right? Be well. I'll see you next time. And until then, bye.